Hello, good sir, and welcome to our fine establishment. Hi, yes, I'd like to change these keys, please. Well, that's what we do here at our store, promptly called This Week in Music Theory, Season 2, Episode 5, Key Changes. Hey everybody, Ryan here. You might know me as the man with the best hair in the music industry. Certified. Let's say you're writing this piece of music and you're trying to have this dramatic momentum shift, but you can't find some combination of harmony, melody, rhythm, texture that'll take you there. What do you do to change the current composition, to lighten or darken the mood? How do you shift vibes, bro? How do you shift vibes? Key change. Now, what is a key change? First, let's define a key. In music theory, the key of a piece is a group of pitches or scales that forms the basis of music composition in classical, Western art, and Western pop music. The key is our home base. Chords in different keys have different functions. For example, a C chord in F is going to have a different function than a C chord in G. Which leads us to our million-dollar question. Why do we change keys? Sometimes we have a great melody or a killer chord progression, but after an extended period of time, our ears become saturated to it. We can inject new life into our musical creation by shifting to a new key. Each of the 11 other keys have a unique relationship to our original home base. Key changes aren't just restricted to taking the same melodic or harmonic idea and moving it to a new home base. Introducing new ideas in a new key can signal a shift in mood in the composition and pull the listener into the next step into the story. So how do we go about changing keys? Well, if you're Disney or Miles Davis, you just poof, go into it. However, not every song is a Disney song. Shocker. And not everybody can be as sassy as Miles Davis. Some key changes contain what's called a pivot chord. A pivot chord is a chord that's diatonic to two separate keys. Now we've covered all these brand new terms, and we have an idea of what modulations are. Let's talk turkey, or music. Let's go with music. Let's start with two of my favorite kind of key changes, the relative and parallel modulations. The relative modulation is moving between the relative minor and relative major. For example, in the key of C, you go between A minor, which is the relative minor, and C major, which is the relative major. The relative major and minor have different root notes and therefore different keys. Our ears feel extremely satisfied by this. It's not a drastic shift in momentum, so it's enough to give your composition a little piece of sun to go to the relative major or shade to go to the relative minor. The song One by U2 has verses in the relative minor and choruses in the relative major. It's in the key of C, our favorite. To go from the verses to the choruses, we use the G chord. The G chord is the flat 7 of A minor, the relative minor, but it's the 5 chord of C major, the relative major. We love our 5 chords, so this transition works really well. This modulation allows the verses to be dark and broody and the choruses to be triumphant and positive. On to parallel modulation. Parallel modulation is when the key stays the same, but the song shifts from major to minor or minor to major. This move in itself can open up a whole new world.
Yes.
To our ears, it feels like we've been exposed to a brand new sound, but it still kind of tastes familiar. It doesn't feel like we ventured off too far from home. It's kind of like when you argue with yourself and you switch from positive to negative. Parallel modulation can be found in the Hall & Oates song, I Can't Go For That. They use this compositional technique to insert some happy nature to convey the lyrical content. To get into the major in I Can't Go For That, we use the flat 6 and the flat 7, or in our key of C, A flat to B flat to go to 1. Now our ears are expecting a minor one because the rest of the song has been in C minor, but we actually go to C major there. Surprise! To get out, we use the major 4 chord, or F, to go back to C minor. The 1 minor to 4 major is a very popular funk and disco progression, so it fits quite well here. Closely related key modulation. Sometimes you want to give the listener a taste of another key, but you don't want to jump too far because you don't want it to sound too foreign. That's when closely related key modulation comes in. Closely related keys are any keys that share 6 of the same diatonic notes. For example, C and F are closely related keys as they share C, D, E, F, G, and A. Songs use this modulation for a slightly different landscape, sometimes for a B section or bridge. A prime example of this is I Wanna Hold Your Hand by the Beatles. The song's in G, but the bridge is in C. Since C and G are closely related keys, it doesn't sound too jarring to our ears, but it does bring a new level of tension. Now, how do they do that? Well, the chorus ends on G, which is the 5 of C. We then have a 2, 5, 1, 6, 2, 5, 1, or D minor, G, C, A minor, D minor, G, C. To get out, instead of treating the C as the 1 chord, we treat it as the 4 chord of G, and then we go to D, which is the 5 chord of G, and bam, we're back home. distant key modulation, aka the really cool stuff. The most common key change in pop music is moving the song up a half or whole step. You hear this at the end of double, triple, quadruple, quintuple choruses. This gives the information we've already heard a brighter kick and sounds brand new to our ears. Songs like I Want to Dance with Somebody move up a whole step for the final chorus. They do this by using the little pause after the motif, and bam, we're in a new key. But we're not just limited to half or whole steps. Living on a Prayer moves up a minor third, which shifts the tune quite drastically. The reason our ears don't reject this is because of the sweet, sweet pivot chord they use. We're in the key E minor, and the pre-chorus ends on a D chord, which is the flat 7 of the key. We use that D chord as the 5 chord of G minor to move on up a minor third. And now we're all straining ourselves to try to sing those notes. Whoa, living on a prayer. Songs don't have to move up for a key change as well. Jessie's Girl by Rick Springfield moves down a minor third. This allows us to hear the riffs and melodies in a different, oddly brighter key before snapping back to the original. How do we achieve this? Well, the bridge ends on a 4 to 5 in our key of D, which is G to A. We keep climbing up a whole step and we end up in B major. Here we play the chorus progression 4 times, 5, 1, 6, 5, or F sharp, B, G sharp minor, back to F sharp. We pop the balloon by going back to the 4, 5, 1, 6, 5 in the key of D, or G, A, D, B minor, A. I would be remiss to not talk about John Coltrane for a second. He moves up major third keys every measure. This is kind of a whole different thing. Coltrane. This is just a teaser for modulation. You can go up for a couple measures, you can go up a whole step just for the end of the tune, or you can be like Love on Top and just keep going up. Well, that's gonna do it for key changes. Once again, my name is Ryan over at DoubleBarMusic. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and click that bell notification so you never miss any theory. If you want to hear more about the life of the music industry, make sure to check out our podcast, Vaguely Music. You can find it on all streaming services or right at our website. How was your key change? Very pleasant. What do I owe you? $4.99. Keep the change.